Years into the First World War, the British Prime Minister, David Lloyd George, said he wanted Jerusalem for Christmas. And that is exactly what he got. On December the 11th, General Edmund Allenby pushed aside the Turks, allies of the Germans, and marched into the city along this road. Lawrence of Arabia was by his side. The British public, weary of the horrors of the Western Front, hailed it as a triumph. For the first time since the Crusaders were thrown out by the Muslim leader Saladin 700 years before, Jerusalem was in Christian hands. Now it seemed that Palestine's population of Muslims, Jews, and Christians could be gently guided to live in harmony by the greatest empire in the world, the benevolent British. And yet, it didn't quite turn out like that. The British stand accused of the treacherous betrayal and ruthless repression of the Arab cause. The decisions made by the British rulers of Palestine 90 years ago are held to blame for intensifying a conflict between the West and Islam that continues to this day. When the British first arrived in Palestine, it was the support of the Arabs that concerned them. In an attempt to set up a second front against the Germans in the First World War, in 1916, the British government sent a young intelligence operative from its Arab bureau in Cairo to act as liaison with the Arabs. His name was T.E. Lawrence. To Lawrence and his superiors, Arab and British interests seemed to coincide. The British needed Arab help against the Turkish and German alliance, and the Arabs wanted the British to join their fight for independence from Turkish rule. But the British establishment was split, and there were some who argued that an alliance with the Arabs might prove more trouble than it was worth. Among the managers of the British Empire in London, there had always been a distrust of Islam. There was a widespread view that Muslims were fanatics, prone to holy war, unwilling to subject themselves to the civilizing British. There were bitter memories of the mutinous uprising in India 60 years before. And they remembered Sudan a few years later, when disaster struck again. The forces of the Mahdi, a fundamentalist Muslim, had murdered the great Christian hero, General Gordon. Indeed, the memories of Christian conflict with Islam in the Middle East went back even further. 700 years. This is Karak Castle in southern Jordan. It was built by the Knights Templar to defend the Holy Land against the Muslim forces of Saracen in the 13th century. It wasn't hard for the British to imagine a Palestine campaign fought across this same piece of desert as an inevitable clash of civilizations, and the Middle East as another crusade in a holy war. But where others saw a clash of cultures, Lawrence saw only the benefits of working with the Arabs. He dreamt of an empire united under one Arab ruler, a force for peace in the Middle East. On the map he created, this stretched from Saudi Arabia through Jordan and Palestine and on to Syria.
I meant to make a new nation, to restore a lost influence, to give 20 million people the foundations on which to build an inspired dream palace of their national thoughts.
Lawrence's optimism found a ready audience among Arabs seeking to liberate their land from the Turks. This is Fawaz Abu Tayyeh. His grandfather was one of Prince Faisal Hussein's military commanders and fought alongside Lawrence.
He went to meet Faisal, and Lawrence was there. He never met Lawrence before. He met him first time at Prince Faisal's tent. And Faisal introduced Lawrence to my grandfather, Auda, and he said, this is our friend from the British Army. And the chemistry just worked. Lawrence was trusted by my grandfather. He used to admire him, and the Bedou in general, they used to admire him and to trust him.
The mutual trust between Lawrence and Auda was backed by guarantees from the Arab Bureau in Cairo. The Egyptian High Commissioner wrote,
Great Britain is prepared to recognize and uphold the independence of the Arabs in all the regions lying within the frontiers proposed by the Sharif of Mecca.
This is what we understood. In the name of His Majesty, the King of Great Britain, we promise Arabs to be one unified country under King Hussein, the Grand Sharif of Mecca.
People believed in these promises. They believed that the British government will actually help liberate the Arabs, provide them with a national state, that something will come about.
It was on the basis of this promise of independence that the Arabs prepared to fight alongside the British against the Turks.
There was a tremendous belief that the British will keep their word. But the British had some other ideas.
On January the